The next tip I would say is to look at what I would call the inflammatory core four. And if I could add plus one, it would be things like, which we kind of, you touched on briefly, but if you haven't taken this out of your diet, then I would start doing that. Gluten, industrial seed oils, added sugar, and dairy. There's better versions of all of that. Like gluten, you can get sourdough, it ferments some of the gluten, right? Or an ancient grain, right? There's a lot of nuance and context to this conversation, so I don't want to make blanket statements. But no matter, if we're looking at the majority of people that are listening to this that are interested in this conversation, somewhere on the inflammation spectrum, then what is the better for you version of these things? So I explore this all actually in my book called The Inflammation Spectrum. I talk about this, but I don't like broad sweeping statements and over generalizations of it. There are better for you versions of this and are really deep conversations about the hybridization of the grain supply and the herbicides and pesticides. So is it really the grain or is it what we've done to the grain? And really having that conversation. But looking at gluten containing grains in all its different forms, looking at industrial seed oils, which is another kind of hot button topic, but things like canola oil, soybean oil, vegetable oil, and in my mind, I think the manufacturing, the processing of these things that can be quite toxic, the oxidation of these oils can be pro-inflammatory, and the overconsumption of them. When you look at the omega-3, 6, and 9 ratio, and the lower omega-3s and the higher omega-6s in the modern Western diet, it's shown to be a pro-inflammatory state. So it's not all or nothing. There's organic versions of these, things like sunflower oil that someone could make the argument that it's better than like your random canola oil. But I would just look at the amount that you're consuming in a day and start to decrease the amount of these industrial seed oils.